I apologize.
It's all right. Everybody butchers their names.
You just spelled it too.
All right, 7 o'clock.
Good evening. I call to order this regular joint meeting of the Minnehaha County and Sioux Falls Planning Commissions, and I will begin with a few introductory comments. As a courtesy to everyone here tonight, please make sure that all cell phones have been silenced. Please note that tonight's Planning Commission meeting will be rebroadcast via CityLink and posted on the www.minnehahacounty.gov site for viewing by the general public. The two planning commissions work together on land use and zoning matters within the rural area surrounding the city. This area is displayed on the screen. When this joint hearing is completed, the joint Sioux Falls and County Planning Commissions will adjourn, and the next regular business meeting will begin to consider items beyond the joint zoning jurisdiction with Sioux Falls. Any action taken tonight on the conditional use permit applications will take effect 5 working days following this meeting unless a written appeal of the Planning Commission's decision is filed in the Planning Office by Monday, July 1st at 5 p.m. In the event of an appeal, the decision will be referred to the Joint County Commission and City Council for a joint hearing on Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024, at or after 5 p.m. The affected parties will be notified of the meeting date. Joint meetings of the County Commission and Sioux Falls City Council are held at Carnegie Town Hall, 235 West 10th Street. First on the agenda is public input. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on an item that is not on the agenda? At this time, the Planning Commission will consider the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are perceived to be non-controversial and meet all of the requirements of the codes and regulations. The consent agenda will be acted on in one motion with no public hearing on the items unless a member of the public, the commission, or staff requests the item be removed from the consent agenda. The minutes from the May 20th, 2024 meeting are included in the consent agenda. Next, I'll read each item on the consent agenda and ask if there are any issues or comments from the Planning Commission or the audience. And if any member of the Planning Commission or the audience would like to be heard on this item, please raise your hand, and the item will be moved to the regular agenda to allow you to address the commission later in the meeting. Any items remaining on the consent agenda will be approved by the Planning Commission with the conditions recommended by staff. Item number 1 on the consent agenda is the approval of the minutes of the May 20th, 2024 meeting. Item number 2 is conditional use permit 24-29 to allow a motor vehicle sales on the properties legally described as Tract 1, Peterson's, Northwest Quarter, Section 27, and the Northeast Quarter, Section 28, all within Township 102, Range 49 West, and that is in Mapleton Township. The petitioner is David Lingberg. The landowner is Dennis Peterson Family Trust. That is located at 6001 North Cliff Avenue. Does anyone from the audience, the Planning Commission, or staff wish to be heard on this item? Item number 3 is conditional use permit 24-30 to allow a mini storage facility on the properties legally described as Lot 1, Plooster's Edition, the Southwest Quarter, and the Southwest Quarter. There is an exception at H-1, H3, H4, and R-1, and except Plooster's Edition, end of exception. All in Section 30, Township 101 North, Range 50 West, that is in Wayne Township. Petitioner is the W.S. Construction. The landowner is Plooster's Investment Limited. The location is 46620 267th Street. Anyone from the audience or the commission or staff wish to be heard on this item? Item number 4, conditional use permit 24-31 to allow a produce stand on the property legally described as Tract 1, 10 Cates Edition, the north half, the northwest quarter, Section 32, Township 101 North, Range 48 West. That is located in Split Rock Township. The petitioner is GPHQ LLC. Landowner is Mason Prescott, located at 8201 East 41st Street. Anyone from the audience or the staff or the commission wish to be heard on this item? Okay. We will move number 4 to the regular agenda. Commissioners, I will entertain a motion for item number 1, 2, and 3.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve items 1 through 3 on the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes on the county side.
On the city side, can I get a motion to the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Passes on the city side.
Thank you. Move on to item number 4, which has been removed to the regular agenda. Scott?
Thank you. Scott Anderson, Planning Director. And tonight, this is a conditional use permit 2431, as you indicated, to allow a produce stand at the address of 8201 East 41st Street. The applicants are requesting this conditional use permit to allow a produce stand. They have prepared a narrative, which I included in your packet. It indicates that they are going to have a 12-foot by 20-foot building, which will be located off of 50 feet off of 41st Street. And you can see that this is a 9.26 acre parcel. And from the air photo, you'll see that there's a U-shaped driveway. There is an existing residence on the property. And there's also an accessory building that is located to the south of the existing residence. You can see that on the slide. And in that area, south of that accessory building and south of the trees along there is where they're proposing to, and where they already are growing produce, and I have pictures of that. The circular driveway would provide plenty of parking spaces, and in their site plan, they have indicated that they will provide 4 off-street parking spaces. The minimum requirement is only 1 because of the size of the structure. And this circular driveway is probably conducive because it will allow people to not have to back up onto 41st Street, so they'll be able to pull out onto 41st Street. I have indicated in the conditions of approval that no parking on 41st Street is allowed. The applicants have indicated that in addition to growing general produce, they may have some baked goods. The baked goods would need to meet the requirements for preparation of food as outlined in SDCL 34-18. The requested hours of operation are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We'll talk about the hours of operation because they vary a little bit in the recommended approval, the conditions of approval. On June 6th, I conducted a site visit, and the applicant was present. We walked around the property. They showed me their produce that's being grown, and I'll show you some pictures. Pine Lake or Pine Hills Addition is located to the north, and you will notice that there's probably approximately 100 residences, single-family residents in that subdivision. In addition, the property to the west has been annexed into the city of Sioux Falls and is experiencing rapid development of townhomes, twin homes, condos, so that is in the city limits. It's likely that that development will continue because of the recently constructed middle schools. There's a Brandon Valley Middle School and a Sioux Falls Middle School that are approximately half mile to the west. So it's likely that the growth will continue in this area. Article 3.04J requires a conditional use permit for a produce stand exceeding 400 square feet. And it is my opinion that the 12 by 20 foot building, which equals 240 square feet, the parking area, the area where applicants or the public will be walking and viewing the produce, all exceeds 400 square feet, and therefore the conditional use permit is warranted and meets the requirements of the zoning ordinance. I will note, and it is noted in the staff report, that we have received calls about the number of occupants residing on this property, and it has been made clear to the applicant that no more than 3 unrelated people can reside in this property. In addition, it has been indicated that should they desire to change this from a single-family residence to a church or some other use, that there would need to be a zoning permit issued so we could review the change, make sure that any requirements like parking and signage is met, or any building code issues are met. So that has been indicated to them in letters and as well as the staff report. So City of Sioux Falls was provided this information for review and they had no comments. Now we'll go on to the conditional use permit criteria. As you are aware, there's 6 criteria that we look at to determine whether the use is compatible and acceptable to the neighborhood. The first one is the affected use and enjoyment of the properties and the immediate uses in the vicinity and upon the property values that in the area. A smaller produce stand is unlikely to have impact the property values in the area. As the area is experiencing rapid growth, the land and property values are likely to continue to increase. The use in some of the area is agricultural. You can see the area to the east is still pasture. Some of the area to the south is still pasture, but is annexed into the city and likely to be developed. A produce stand will not hinder the continued residential uses to the north and to the west, and will not hinder the future development of that area. That sort of addresses number 2. We look at how this use might impact normal and orderly development and the improvement of the surrounding areas. It's unlikely that a small produce stand will stop the normal and orderly development of the area. It's likely it will continue to see rapid residential development, and the potential use may actually provide a service to the area, as these densely developing areas will have access to fresh produce and other items without having to require larger or longer travel times to get to an area where fresh produce is sold. Item number 3, we look at utilities and road access and drainage. Utilities are already provided to the site. There is an existing U-shaped driveway that you can see on the site plan, which will assist in the traffic flow. So no further access roads or utilities are needed. Number 4, we look at the off-street parking requirements. For this use, 1 parking space is required for each 300 square feet of gross floor area. The produce stand is proposed to be 240 square feet, which is 0.8 of a parking space. So they would be required to have 1 parking space. The site plan indicates 4, which meets and exceeds the minimum parking requirements. Item number 5, we look at measures, if measures are taken to control offensive odors, fumes, dust, vibrations, and lighting. The proposed use should probably not create any dust or fumes or vibrations in any amount that would be considered a nuisance. The applicant has indicated that the facility will be used year-round and that landscaping and building lighting will be installed. Have made a condition of approval that any lighting on the building must be fully shielded and directed downward so no light spills onto any adjacent property owners. The applicants have asked for hours of operation from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily. Given the large numbers of residential dwelling units to the north, 7 a.m. seems early to allow customers on the site. So I'm indicating that the hours of operation open to the public should be 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., but that they could be on the site and prepping at like 7:30 to prepare and get their produce out. So the condition is written in that manner. It should be said that a produce stand, we look at the health and welfare and the general welfare of the public and the comprehensive plan. A produce stand is actually promoting the health of the community by offering freshly grown produce. This type of sales can be a benefit to the community if it's kept at a reasonable scale. The applicant is indicated that their proposed sales building will be 12 feet by 20 feet, and there will be limited parking. Generally, this would not impact the public. Mixed uses such as fruit stands is a reasonable blending of the existing agricultural uses in the area with the rapidly developing residential uses and is not in conflict with the comprehensive plan. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of the conditional use permit with 7 conditions. Madam Chairman, would you like me to read the conditions of approval for the audience?
Yes, I wish you would,
All right.
please.
There are 7 proposed conditions of approval. The first one is, number 1, the applicant has to adhere to the site plan that's been submitted and approved. Number 2, that the hours of operation shall be between 7 a.m. and 7:30 p.m. with sales to the public occurring between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. That the public, number 3, that the building permit shall be required for the construction or placement of any of the produce stand. Number 4, that the applicant shall follow all signage requirements as outlined in Article 17 of this 2002 revised joint zoning ordinance for Minnehaha County and the city of Sioux Falls, which includes a building permit for any sign prior to installation. Number 5, that a minimum of 1 parking space shall be provided for use by customers of the produce stand. The construction of any new parking area must meet the requirements of Article 16 of the 2002 revised zoning ordinance for Minnehaha County and the city of Sioux Falls, and that no parking shall be allowed on 41st Street. Number 6, that all outdoor lighting shall be fully cut off and fully shielded, design to prevent direct spillage of light beyond the property boundaries. And number 7, that the Planning and Zoning Department reserves the right to enter and inspect the site at any time after proper notice to the owner to ensure that the property is in full compliance with the conditional use permit, conditions of approval, and the joint Minnehaha County, City of Sioux Falls zoning ordinance. So with that in mind, those are the conditions of approval. I'll go through the pictures, and it's sort of self-explanatory. This is the site plan that is of the property. You now more clearly can see the shelter belt, the trees. There is an older barn and the house. There at one time was a pool that has been removed. This is the house. You can see the 41st Street and then the driveway. This is the other side of the U-shaped of the driveway. This is the area where the produce stand would be located. You can see 41st Street on behind the row of bushes there. Once again, where this trailer is, and this is looking between the U-shaped driveway where the produce stand would go. The minimum setback off 41st Street is 50 feet. Here, this is behind by that cattle barn, and you can see their nicely rowed lettuces. Here's other crops that they have planted. To the west, you can see the townhouses and twin homes and such that are being built. And this is looking on 41st Street, looking to the east, and this is 41st Street looking to the west. And this, you can once again see, this is on 41st Street looking to the west, and you can see the residential development that's occurring there. So that basically concludes the pictures. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you have.
Madam Chair, I have a
Go
question.
ahead, John. Go ahead.
Scott, could you talk a little more, give some background regarding what you describe as apparent compliance issues with the use of the home resulting in several letters? I
Okay?
don't know if there was a conversation when you were there on the 6th, but
Yes, there
it
was.
sounds like there's a continuing situation, and
Well, I think
I'd
there's
like
a
to know more about it.
perceived, and I think that there's a lot of perception. And I think that as I was at the site, I talked to them about the number of people that are allowed, unrelated people that are allowed to reside at the property. They have indicated that they're having people there that are helping renovate that property, that are assisting them with them on some projects around the house, that they reside in other locations in Sioux Falls. So at this point, it's been discussed several times with them. We've sent out letters, and they have indicated that they are in compliance with the zoning ordinance.
okay, thanks.
Anyone else have any questions for him? Guess not at this time. Is the petitioner here?
Yes, ma'am.
Will you please step forward and state your name and address?
My name is Mason Prescott. My address is 231 South Daylight Drive in Sioux Falls. Yes, so what questions do you have for me, Madam Chairman?
You aware of all the conditions or all the conditions that they've told you that you have to comply with, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions for him?
I have one, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Talk about how you're intending to comply with the occupancy statute.
Yes, sir. So as of now, I have no one currently residing in the home. Any cars or people you see on site are simply volunteers that are helping me out with the farming and then also updating all of the property itself inside. So tearing out a lot of carpet, scraping up popcorn ceiling. It's a very old home, so we're just looking to update it to more modern. So as of now, we currently have no one living in the property at all. Just for the last 4 months, though, we've been putting a lot of work into the property. So there's been a lot of cars in the driveway, which I would understand people would perceive and see like, oh, it looks like there's a ton of people living there. But that's currently not the case at all, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Will you eventually occupy it? Like you're renovating it so that it will be your personal residence?
No, ma'am. I'm currently not planning on letting it be a personal residence for myself. My goal right now is to primarily move forward and kind of be a farmhouse to be a kind of base of operations for taking care of the gardens and such.
Okay, anyone else have any questions for him? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, anyone else in the audience care to address this item? Please step forward, state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Virgil Stensland. I live at 8300 East 41st Street, so kind of across the road and just a little bit to the right. I've been out there 40, 45, 50 years now and seen a lot of change, you know, and I commend the gentleman that was up here before for being so thorough and asking all the questions or a lot of the questions, but I do have concerns, you know, and I'd like to be a good neighbor on this. You know, selling produce is not anything wrong with that. My concerns are traffic and parking issues. 41st Street is a gravel township road. And in this area, there, as he mentioned, there are over 100 homes that travel this road daily. And there's only one other east-west road, and that's 38th, and that's kind of a development road. So most everybody drives on 41st Street. I have a traffic report from Split Rock Township, digital signs that were placed on 41st Street last year. And I have copies if anybody'd like to look at. It shows that there were 1,200 cars a week on 41st Street. And that's about 175 a day. And of course, the sign only faces one direction, so you can double that effectively. So that means 2,400 a week, 350 cars a day on a gravel road. That same report shows that traffic speeds, 60% of the people are speeding. Many are going 40 to 45 miles an hour, and the speed limit's 30. Now, the township has spoken with the sheriff's office, but it's quite hard to get them to focus time, in that area when they have so many other things that are going on in the county and that. So it's very difficult to get anybody to enforce that, and they just continue to go by. Somebody went by, I bet 55 miles an hour the other day, and it rained. The township does a good job maintaining these roads, but they have 50 miles of gravel road to do, so 41st Street does deteriorate rather quickly because of that traffic. Washboards. It's not very wide either. As you can see from the picture, it's a traditional gravel road. So if this were approved, I'm not sure where the people are going to park. We talk so much about, the U-shaped driveway and that, but when we went by tonight, 12 cars in the driveway. There's been 10, 12 cars in that driveway since they moved in. Maybe they're working there, I don't know, but they're there at 7 o'clock in the morning and they were there at 8 o'clock at night. So I'm not sure what they're doing there. This is a residential area. And you don't see South Sycamore or West 26th Street with this type of thing on it. Why? Because these residential areas and there's no place to park. People walk on this road, running, biking, because it's the only road and there's probably more than 100 because if you go a little farther east, there's another 10, 20 houses down there. So there's a lot of traffic. The only other businesses within a mile is about a mile away. Could we suggest the farmer's market, or the business parking lots on East 10th Street, like Runnings, Eastway Bowl, where all the other producers, sell their product? I just know that if this were approved, that you're gonna have people parking on the road, on a gravel road. And I just don't see that. Maybe I'm wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'll say so, but I just think you're gonna have people park on the road. You put up a sign and it's 50 feet back, they're gonna pull over and stop and walk in there, I believe, so. But I thank you for your time, and thank you.
Anyone else care to speak to this item? Please step forward, state your name and address, sir.
My name is Warren Oakland. I live at 3205 South Keith Lane, which is about 3 blocks from Virgil. My main concern is the road. Several years ago, I was on this board, and a group of people came and wanted to approve south of Riverview Road a development. And they were gonna put like 80 houses or whatever in there. And they had no plans for a hard surfaced road of any kind. We denied their conditional use permit on those grounds. I think this is a good one to do the same thing. Unless they're willing to provide a hard surface road from 41st Street to their property, the road can't handle more traffic than it already has. That road drive it someday. It is a mess. And they can grade it daily, and it's still gonna be a mess. There is just way too much traffic on 41st Street because it's a gravel road. They're not designed to handle that kind of traffic. Thank you.
Anyone else care to address this item? Please step forward, state your name and address.
My name is Ashley Steffen. I live at 3312 South Daniel Drive. I am just east of this place that we are discussing today, probably about half a mile, maybe at most. I'm very concerned about the traffic and the road conditions as well. In the discussion earlier, they talked about the two schools that are located on 41st Street within city limits. One is a public school within the city of Sioux Falls. The other is actually an elementary school for Brandon Valley. My children go to that school. They love to be able to ride their bikes to school, to walk to school. In the last year, I've had to stop allowing them to do that. We've had too many people driving those roads. As they have both mentioned, the conditions are terrible. So it was already, as a mother, concerning to have our kids on those roads. It's extremely concerning now that traffic has increased and the road conditions have gotten worse. I'm wanting to look at this from a very conscious place as well. Within my research and looking at what's happening here, I'm a little bit concerned. The landowner on here, some of the research I've done, the residents or the occupants that are utilizing the land have said that that has been leased. This is now telling me that this is a new landowner. So I'm getting a lot of red flags and questions about what's really taking place. I know in some of my research, there's been communication that they're planning on having kind of a homestead on this property. So I'm not sure what is going to come in the future. If, you know, the fruit stand, I agree, it would be wonderful to have fresh produce, but I don't have any issue driving a little bit farther and getting access to that. Again, the bowling alley is a lot of times where we'll go get fresh corn. So I think there's areas that can be housed outside of our community. It is residential, and this really does feel like it's encroaching on the intent of what we all within the community are moved into that area for. Everybody has land, has privacy, security. I want to be able to continue to allow my kids to be outside. I don't want to have to be concerned about increased traffic on those roads. I don't want to have to worry about who's now in our community from sun up to sundown. It just is, it's really been a big issue and concern for us. And I would urge you all, before you make a decision, to maybe do some additional research, because I think there's more than just a produce stand happening here. If there's continued growth, I'm not sure what all is going to happen on that property. I know there was mention of a church. I praise the Lord. I am a very religious person, and I'm okay with that. But again, what is that going to look like? How is that going to affect our roads, our traffic? It's just altogether a lot of red flags and things that I'm wanting to get a better understanding of. And I'm not sure that I would get that, but I urge you all to maybe do a little bit of additional research on that as well. So, thank you.
Anyone else care to address this item?
Jeff Hauge, 8705 East 38th Street. We've talked about 4 parking spaces and things like that for the produce stand. However, I think this is just a foot in the door for the big picture. Their desire is to transform the property into the headquarters for Grace Place Ministries. It's a 3,696 square foot home with 6 bedrooms, and they want to convert it into offices, meeting room, and a film and podcast studio. Renovate the living room, kitchen, and dining room for the main gathering space for community meals and family nights. The basement, a co-working space for an office hub, desks and office chairs. Converting the garage into a comprehensive shipping and storage center for the ministry. Convert every part of the house to a contemporary and welcoming home for their family. The barn will become a sanctuary for their church, a fully finished church space with a fellowship lobby, commercial kitchen, restrooms, administrative office, and a sanctuary for services and banquets. The foundational hub for the church. You saw the maps. If they're going to put in a produce stand and support 4 parking spaces, converting the home into offices, a meeting room, a film and podcast studio, the garage, the basement, and the barn into the sanctuary, sounds like a lot of people. I don't think it can support it, and I hope you'll agree with myself and the other people that have spoken so far. Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience care to address this item? Please step forward, state your name and address.
My name's Carly, and I live at 8108 East 10th Kate, and we are backyard neighbors with them. Our home was actually in one of the pictures that was shown, and my spouse is on the phone. He's in California for work right now, but he wanted to say a few things. So, Tom.
Hi, my name's Tom.
Oh, hold on one second. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, my name's Tom, and as Carly mentioned, our house and our backyard literally faces their barn and everything else. I'm gonna be straight up honest, I don't agree with it. I don't like having a produce stand there. I don't know what kind of people that's going to invite. I don't know what kind of people are gonna be around. It's a residential area. As some of the people have stated, there's also younger kids around. These kids are gonna be outside playing, having fun. We're gonna have an increase in traffic. A kid could die, you know what I mean? Don't want that to happen. I don't fully agree with everything else that they're doing. They are from an unaccredited university or something along those lines out in California. And I really encourage you guys to look up on YouTube what these guys are doing and how they're practicing with the religion. I'm for religion, whatever you want to believe. You know, if it's Christianity, Islam, whatever it is, you can believe and practice whatever religion. I do not believe in what they're practicing. I do not believe that what they're doing is okay in terms of their religion. I simply do not agree with anything that they're doing. They want to have a homestead, and it's also going to affect our daily lives with the livestock that they're going to have. We are going to smell all of their droppings. We are going to smell the animals. They're going to directly affect us and all the units on that property, along with the brand new units that are currently being built. I have no idea if they have sold or not. Had I known this was going to happen, this would have influenced my decision on purchasing this house. And I'm sure a lot of other people around the area are not happy about it as well. I simply don't agree with it. And the biggest concern is having random people come around to residential areas in a high traffic or create high traffic, which can lead to break-ins in houses and stuff like that. We have a higher crime rate popping up in Sioux Falls. I don't want it to pop out to there in a nice quiet area where it's nice and peaceful.
I think another one of my concerns is just if this does turn into a church or whatever they're doing, what is that going to do to the value of our house when we want to sell it in the future? Or who's going to want to buy our house when they see all of this traffic? Or if they turn this huge barn into their church, like where are all these people going to park in the future? So
That's also going to disrupt our daily life, mainly affecting the people whose houses are right across from it. I grew up by 2 churches growing up. I grew up by a Catholic church and a Pentecostal church. Every Sunday, the streets were fully packed. I wanted to get away from it, and I thought I did, and now I have this in my backyard.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else care to address this item in the audience? Does the petitioner want to come forward again?
Good evening. My name is James Bell. I live at, I apologize. I just moved to to a new set of apartments. The Millstone Commons apartments on 2310 South Daylight Drive. I'm the co-director of the Farm and Gardens, and I just wanted to offer a few comments as well. First and foremost, we deeply recognize the concerns of the neighbors, and family is utmost core value of the Farm and Gardens. Our slogan is farm to family, and our hope is that we would be able to provide that produce directly to these families. As the city continues to expand, it appears that 41st Street is imminent in a matter of years, considering the upcoming vision to be paved, and we look forward to that. And we hope that this addition would continue to support the high traffic. At present, we have no produce stand on property, and it seems that the traffic concerns have been consistent. And I believe largely that's due to not only is 41st Street a road that leads to the homes, but it connects over east and then heads north to an additional, I believe, a state highway, not 90, but something that runs east-west. So with that being said, we believe that this produce stand would provide ample opportunity for the families just north of us to drive into the driveway, never parking on 41st Street as Mr. Anderson's conditions have allowed, and to allow those individuals to come and enjoy the produce. In addition, the property being zoned A1, I'd like to request that the commission keep that in consideration, as one of the primary uses of this is to promote a vibrant agricultural economy in Sioux Falls, and to support that key part of what I've come to love about Sioux Falls is that I can meet a farmer as well as a businessman, a banker, or a doctor on any given day. And so I'm grateful for the diversity of that in the community, and I'd ask that you'd consider that the primary use of our property being the agriculture. So as some of the comments have come in, I believe the question at hand is not whether or not we should or should not have the produce stand, but it sounded almost as if whether or not we should or should not be able to have agriculture on the property. But I just asked the county and the commission and the city to consider that the item being just the produce stand itself. And then working with Scott, we have tried to be as open and transparent with him when it comes to the produce stand and proposing this site plan. We asked up front, is this something that you think should be a conditional use permit, or do you think it should be just permissive as is? And we had even requested, if we reduced the produce stand and eliminated the number of parking spaces in the site plan, might this be a way to reduce it to the size of less than 400 square feet in total area? And Scott recommended, let's just proceed with the conditional use permit regardless of the size. That way we can get everyone's opinion. So we hope we've been as straightforward and clear to provide that information. And I just thank you for your time and consideration. We love Sioux Falls, and it's a joy to be here. It's a joy to be in the joint jurisdiction. And we hope that we can provide this fresh grown produce that's in the ground as we speak and being harvested as we speak. We were at the Brandon Farmers Market this last Saturday for the first time. So it's a joy to begin to meet the community, and we are appreciative of the patience of our neighbors during the process of renovating and getting the ground ready, as we know that's a comprehensive effort to take a home that was built in 1972 and then convert it to a farm. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have a question for him.
Right. Would you please come back?
Yes, ma'am.
Brian?
Do you have any idea how much added traffic you guys think you'll be bringing into the stand?
At present, no. There'd be no clear research or decision I could give on that. Our hope would be that for reference, the farm stand is likely going to be an honor system farm stand, so not staffed. It will have a camera system, an automatic door lock that would open and shut the building. That can be changed if the county or the city feel otherwise. But hopefully that would reduce traffic, and it's not a place to visit, it's not a place to congregate, it's not a place to shop. It's a place to pull into the driveway in one of the indicated parking spots. We hope to have a sign on each driveway indicating to enter the driveway and to exit the driveway. No one should be parking anywhere on 41st Street. And so they should be able to pull in, park, go in, select what groceries, eggs, tomatoes, canned goods or baked goods, as long as they follow the South Dakota State Extension's description of fresh produce that can be sold and baked goods that can be sold, and then head back and resume their daily lives. This is not a request for agritourism, as that is not even permitted in the joint jurisdiction. We're not interested in inviting and creating an agritourism produce stand. This is a produce stand where that which is grown on the property can be immediately accessible. We have attempted to enter Falls Park Farmers Market. The demand is so high that at present we need to be reconsidered starting in March of 2025. It's just there's so many people and there's such a high demand that we would hope that we can make the drive shorter for those who would need to drive 20 minutes into Falls Park could have it on the east side of town.
Yes, Madam
Joe?
Chair, if I could, a follow-up question on that is does your business model contemplate serving the general neighborhood, or would you expect and would you be marketing to customers citywide, countywide?
I think if we'd like to reach beyond the general community and neighborhood, we would extend and continue our efforts to go to the Lake Lorraine Farmers Market, the Falls Park Farmers Market, or the Brandon Farmers Market. But we wouldn't be seeking West Sioux Falls residents or inviting them to come. It's more those who are already on a commute. Maybe they're headed to the Fairway on 41st. Maybe they can get their spring mix or their tomatoes from us, and that can supply their family with as local as it can get. If there were to be any additional customers, say restaurants or grocery stores that would like the produce, that would be something that we would likely deliver to them. We wouldn't be inviting any type of commercial vehicles to come and pick up produce from our location. Thank you.
Anybody else have a?
Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
So what is the overall picture? Like with Jeffrey, is it Haug? I'm sorry. Haugie.
And what I didn't mention was all the information that I gave.
You need to come to the podium, sir,
Would you like me to step back?
just for a little bit.
All the information that I gave to all of you, I received on their self-made welcome to Sioux Falls YouTube video. About 6 minutes long. Just chronicles everything that they want to do, and that's where I got all my information.
Thank you.
So, would you like me to address
So yeah,
that?
yes. Is this accurate? What's the overall picture
Yes, ma'am.
of the goal of the entire property?
The goal of the property at present is actually simply to modify the property to make it a farmhouse and farmstead style operation. That includes renovating the backyard into gardens and updating the farmhouse to increase the property value as a single family residence. That's the initial property kind of movement. Any additional changes we would hope to do hand in hand with the joint county zoning and planning team. That way we could apply for a change of use should we want to do a church on the property. At present, it's not, and there may be someone else in here who'd like to give more specific comment to this specific topic on our team. However, I can say as far as this specific conditional use permit is concerned, we're not asking for a church. We're not asking for additional parking for hundreds of people or dozens of people. We're asking for the 4 parking spaces, which is 3 times the county requested amount, as well as a produce stand that's 240 square foot when the conditional use permit requires for anything exceeding 400 square feet. So we're trying to be as upfront as possible. But let's say that the city were to be expanding and we were to find a more suitable property for the church and the things he's described, we would probably be open to just selling the property as a farmhouse with a garden in the back for homesteading couples or families who have the same style of agriculture dream to purchase the property and then take it on themselves. Because as of now, we haven't done anything to the property that would constitute or evidence a church, a co-working space, those types of things. This is still a single-family home that's had the paint renovated, the floors changed, the light fixtures reinstalled.
Great. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience? Okay, you want to step forward, state your name and address, sir?
Bill Moe, 3316 South Daniel Drive. I live next to Ashley and just a little bit east of this. And I just have 2 questions. One for the commission and one for the petitioner. And so my question for the petitioner is, is it not your intent to create headquarters for the ministry at this location? And then my question for the commission would be, if that's the case, it would require another zoning. It would require a zoning change, correct? Because the produce stand by itself, first of all of us have, I've been out there since 1987, all of us have at least acre properties. So if we're really interested in produce, we have ample space to raise produce. But the produce stand by itself is not that big a deal. But the ultimate use of the property in that particular location is the bigger concern. And I've been around long enough, I knew the Tenkate family that built that house and developed that property. So, I mean, this is a far cry from what it started out as, so.
You want to address this question?
I would, ma'am. Sorry.
Okay.
It's like Attorney Jesse as well, but at this point, that is not my primary goal to turn it into a headquarters. That is something.
What about future? Not
Future.
at this point.
Yes, sir. I understand. And at this point, no. Even my whole goal with this was simply to address the farm stand. I understand there would be plenty of questions and concerns, as you mentioned the video we put together. When we initially found the property, there was a lot of dreaming, a lot of like, oh, what about this? What about this? But as we're continuing to learn and grow about like, oh, what actually is like learning about our neighbors, learning to see in the neighborhood what is like permissible, what would be wise. So currently right now, I'm simply just trying to address a farm stand. But as for the future, I don't know. It is definitely a possibility, but as of now, that is not my intention or goal. I believe I currently sent out a letter to all of our neighbors as well to try to get to know you guys and let you know what we're planning. As of now, even as a church organization, we're not trying to, we're trying to find a venue in town to meet. So we're not trying to currently push anything else forward. If that does end up being the case, of course, we're gonna go through all of the proper channels that would be, and if that needs to be addressed, then I'm happy to do that. But as of right now, I'm just trying to simply address a produce stand. That my hopes would be to service the neighborhood. Not necessarily, it's good for me to hear about the concerns about increased flow of traffic. I've driven on the road plenty myself. I agree. I grew up in Iowa. I know what it's like to drive on county roads and the gravel. They take a beating. So I understand that absolutely. But my primary goal is to be able to service the community and the neighborhood. So I hope does that answer your question, sir? No, that I'm not sure. I'm clarify.
Immediately.
Sir, you need to come, yes.
Okay, so the immediate question, I suppose, is answered. I saw the same YouTube video that Jeff saw, which outlines this very property very specifically, that walks through the house. It shows every room. It shows the entire facility and talks about its future use as a ministry headquarters. And you're talking about a shipping location there. So this long-term use is a way bigger prospect than a produce stand and 4 parking places. That's really where the neighborhood concern lies, not a produce stand. I was actually very surprised when I saw that that's actually what the zoning notice was about, because we were expecting it even to be way bigger than that, knowing what the ultimate plan was. So that's.
Okay, anyone else in the audience care to address this item? State your name and address.
My name is Daniel Newton. My address is 917 Brennan Court. I'm the one that they saw in the video. So we moved to Sioux Falls about 7 months ago. We had a discipleship ministry based in Northern California. We prayed about it, and the Lord clearly called us to come here to start a church, to start a farm, and to start a discipleship school. The video that you are hearing people discuss was a visionary video that we made when we got here. I'll be honest, coming into this community has been very interesting with learning about the zonings, the permits, and all of the things that are required we have been learning. And so that video was done before we learned. It was a visionary video. And I would say this hearing today, what we are petitioning for is specifically for a produce stand for our farm. If we choose to go down the path of, looking for a church to be on the property, that would definitely be something that we need to change the zoning, the permits, and hearing all of the concerns from the neighbors would obviously be part of that. We're not here tonight for asking, hey, can we have a church on the property? We don't have a church on the property. We're simply building a farm, and we have 74 50-foot beds, 3 large gardens. We have a lot of chickens in the barn, and that's why we're here. So I would just request, like, if we choose to go down that path in the future, I don't know. The video that you guys watched, I understand. I'll be honest, I wish it would have never been posted, because then none of this would have ever came up. That is something that we did in the beginning of, like, oh, this is something we could do. We were not aware of all the zoning issues, the permits. After hearing from Mr. Anderson, who's been very gracious and been a blessing to us by informing us of all the things, receiving the letters and hearing about everything that we need to do, we've done our best to abide by what the city and the county has requested of us for the produce stand. So that's kind of why we're here.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for him?
Does that answer better? We're not, I'm not trying to lie or hide. We honestly don't know. And I understand the parking would be a big thing for a church. So that's why I'm not even wanting to go down that path. We're trying to build the farm right now. That's kind of our first point of, with the property is renovating and upgrading. The house was built in 1972. There's a lot of stuff to be done to the house. So, and as James said earlier, that might be something that we sell. It might be something that we just use for the farm, or we might, move to a larger space down the road.
Anyone else have any
Answers
questions?
all the questions.
I have a question.
Sure.
You have a total of what, 9 acres?
9.5.
9.5 acres. How much of that is tillable?
Madam Chair, can
So
I call
you're-
for a point of order? This has
Yes.
turned very conversational, and I think we want
Should have this conversation between
one
you.
speaker
Okay, my
at a
question
time
is,
and speaking
can you
only
please
once.
Make a living on 9 acres of land.
I believe we can, yes.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else care to address this item? I'll entertain it for one more time. Please state your name and address.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Jesse Wall, and I live at 2210 South Daylight Drive in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I'm actually just here, a neighbor in the neighborhood living at 3312 South Bingen Avenue. They were too busy to make it tonight, so I'm just representing a letter that they wrote on behalf of this, what we're discussing here tonight. This is from Daniel and Jessica Burlingham. So they say, to whom it may concern, this letter confers our full support for Grace Place Farms and Gardens' proposal to establish a produce stand on their property. We believe this stand will be a valuable asset to the community. Sincerely, Daniel and Jessica Burlingham. Any questions?
No, thank you. If anyone else cares to speak, I'm going to close the floor. Commissioners?
Just have a couple clarifying questions for staff, if I could.
Okay, Scott?
Scott?
Yes,
Is it correct that the present zoning is A1 agriculture?
that's correct.
And is it correct that the applicant has to adhere to the submitted and approved site plan, and anything beyond that, it'd come back before us?
That's correct.
That's all I needed. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have a question for Scott, as long as he's
Sure, John.
standing. I'm having trouble connecting to what it is we're approving, or being asked to approve. put it that way. To begin with, the business model is a little hard to understand in terms of the impact it would have on the roads, the neighborhood, the future plans for that area. So I feel, deficient in regards to what I would say we typically would be aware of in terms of traffic volumes and future plans and the remaining development desired for that location. So that's just a fundamental question I have. But the other question I have is, what's the real project here?
Well, so what the real project is, I don't, let me back up and say, they are applying for a produce stand, and they are asking to have a produce stand that's gonna be 12 feet by 20 feet, be 240 square feet. They are actively raising crops on the property, which I provided pictures of. They had a number of things planted. I believe, according to the narrative and in my discussion with them, is that they are going to grow this produce and they want to be able to sell it on their site or provide it. It sounds like sell, but they will offer it to the public within that produce stand. So I think it's pretty clear cut on what they're asking for. There's been a lot of discussion about potential other uses. I have made it clear in the staff report. I've made it clear our office has made it clear in writing. I've made it clear in person to them on the site that if they are going to use this property for a church, that is, and I will remind the Planning Commission that a church is a permissive use. They don't even need to get a conditional use permit for a church. They could bulldoze down that house and they could build a 6,000 square foot church, and provided they meet the parking requirements and they meet the parking requirements and water and sewer requirements, they could have a church. So the proposed, I just will indicate that a church is a permissive use, and if they meet the requirements, they are going to be allowed to put a church there. So they're requesting a produce stand, and I don't want to, that is what they brought in to request. The applicant has somewhat inaccurately described our initial contact with my discussion. So initially they felt there was a little bit of a disagreement or a differing of how we were interpreting the zoning ordinance. They felt that if it was less than 400 square feet, it was just permitted. And I said that was not going to be the case, that the courts have been very clear that if it would be a permissive use, it would be stated in the uses, the permissive uses produce stand, and it does not say that in there. So if it's less than 400 square feet, it's not approved. And that's my interpretation of the zoning ordinance, and I think I'm pretty clear. I think I'm on pretty firm basis on that interpretation. And so that's why I indicated in the staff report, I gave you the chapter and the verse that says that a conditional use permit is for a produce stand is exceeding 400 square feet, and that I was including the parking space, the walking area, and the produce stand, that would all constitute more than 400 square feet. So if you feel that is not a correct interpretation, then you could quiz me on that now and take that into consideration in your decision. The other option would be and I did lay this out to the owners, that the other option is they can go through an amendment process to amend the zoning ordinance to make a produce stand less than 400 square feet, either a permissive use or a conditional use. But I don't know why it says exceeding 400 square feet. Why that just does not say just produce stand, but that's the way the zoning ordinance is written, and I'm enforcing that. So, I'm enforcing that, so. Any questions?
Guess not.
Thanks.
Thanks. Commissioners?
Becky, you look like you want to say something.
Becky?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I believe that we are here tonight to vote on a produce stand and not to speculate on the long-term uses of the property. And I would support that a produce stand is an appropriate use under our conditional use permits.
I think you hit it on the head, Becky, but I will venture speculation because I guess I've been on here long enough to see neighbors talking with neighbors, and I'd encourage you, the petitioners, to build trust with your neighbors by following the site plan. Do what you said you were going to do. Build trust. That's the only way you can go forward in that sense. Now, if we see it here again, we'll assess that on its own merits, but I think this one, I think we're making a mountain out of a molehill. I do have a lot of respect on the county commission. I've been the liaison to the highway department. I definitely have a lot of respect for issues of our roads. I just have trouble punishing that last petitioner that wants to do one extra thing on a road, and then we hold the extra handful of cars that they bring to the party against them when the bulk of the traffic can be attributed elsewhere. So I'm happy to hear issues of how we need to improve our roads. I think it's a valid concern. I just don't see this being the equivalent of a Walmart or major grocery store that is going to truly bring additional traffic that isn't just already passing through. Happy to keep an eye on that, and again, encourage the petitioners to, in good faith, work on the parking signage and getting people to go where they're supposed to go, but I'll be a vote in favor of this at this time.
Anyone else? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of the CUP with the conditions as stipulated by staff.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second on the county side to approve conditional use permit 24-31 to allow a produce stand. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Passes on the county side.
On the city side, any board discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve with the stated conditions.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Opposed?
Yes.
Motion passes on the city side.
Any old business?
No.
New business?
No.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn on the county side.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes on the county side.
I'll look for a motion to adjourn on the city side.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passes on the city side.
Thank you. If your item has been approved, you're free to go.